Coming up on today's Swim episode.
You know, every week there's tens of thousands of songs. You know, you hear these statistics that are getting uploaded to Spotify, and there's an incredible saturation in the market of material that's coming out. And so how do you find a niche to be able to break out within?
This is Swim, Success with Music.
Yo, what up, music fam? This is Walt. You are listening to the Success with Music podcast. We call it Swim for short. This is a podcast for singers, songwriters, beat makers, music students. We are always about the music life. Hey, again, welcome to the show. I appreciate you listening. It's been a while, but today it will be totally worth the wait. In fact, what we're going to do is give you a two-part episode. And the reason for that is we have a major music guest on that is going to provide you with inside information about the music industry, especially if you're trying to grow your career, going from just having a hobby as a music creator to actually living that life where you are fully sustained by your music craft. And today we're going to be talking with Sean Giovanni from the record shop down in Nashville. Sean has been on the grind all the way from the bottom. Now he's on top. He's literally going to walk you through all of his secrets. Well, maybe a lot of them. So it's a two-part episode. Subscribe now so that you can actually hear the next episode when it drops. That said, seriously, man, I really encourage you to take notes today. You're going to hear a lot of great content. Hey, man, let's go ahead and get to it. All right, Swim fam, as usual, we are bringing you some premium music guests. And today we're going to be introduced to someone who's going to help you go to the next level in your career. I really want you guys to listen. This gentleman is a music insider. He's been in the industry for quite some time. He knows what he's talking about. He is the one that will give you direct insight for growing your music career in a substantial way. His name is Sean Giovanni. He is the producer, engineer, and owner for Middle Tennessee's own The Record Shop. In addition to that, Sean is a frequent NAMM show panelist, speaker at Belmont, MTSU, the Recording Academy, and countless community groups. Sean is passionate about helping musicians build a sustainable business around their art and achieving their goals. Hey, look, he has worked with clients in the studio ranging from Tim McGraw, Big and Rich, to Zakk Wylde, the Wallflowers, Juicy J, and Lil Jon. In addition to that, other production clients include John Legend and Alabama Shakes. Hey, if you are looking for someone who knows what they're talking about based off of that short, abbreviated track record, man, you are listening to the right podcast. Hey, Sean, thank you so much for spending your valuable time to drop some knowledge on our audience today. Hey, thank you and welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here and look forward to our conversation.
Yeah, for sure. So in typical fashion, I'm going to try to lay back and actually learn myself as you talk. So I want to start us off with some questions and some things that most of our audience members will want to know about. And again, please feel free to just take the reins and help us to understand how we can grow our music career. So one of the major things that I think a lot of us who are, growing our fan bases and growing our careers and things like that we want to know is we want to figure out how to market ourselves, how to get bigger name recognition. Most of us are indies and we're not backed by these massive labels, and we don't have a huge machine behind us to really get all the marketing done, all the PR related stuff done, all the content pushed out to social platforms. So as someone that may be operating on an indie level, on a smaller level, just start off by giving us some insight about what you've seen in terms of growing your fan base, increasing fan engagement. What can I do to really grow my career?
I think learning how to grow your career starts with the foundational aspect of learning how to tell your story. As creatives, artists, songwriters, we're really great at telling stories in our music and the art that we create. But then when we try to share that music with people, we jump right into, hey, go and check out this song. Mm-hmm. or come and watch this show. And we just invite people to take action to do something without telling them really why or giving them incentive to how this art is going to impact them in a positive way. So when I think that you look at the artists that are having a lot of great success as indies that are marketing themselves, they have a really great story and a culture that's built around their brand. And I know the word brand isn't the sexiest word for a creative, because we got into this industry to be able to be artists and be creative and unique and not have to work for the man and have that corporate structure around things. So when I use words like that, I use it only in the context of we understand what that means. Every brand has a story. They have a target audience, demographic, and a market that they're delivering their products to. And as artists, I think we are in the modern music industry, we have to have that direction when we're trying to connect with an audience.
Wow.
So how do we tell our story? Because I can say that and it sounds cool, but tangibly, how do we do that? Well, I start with having artists dive into what their purpose is behind their music. So initially when I asked artists that, many of them will say, well, I want people to be inspired by my music. That's great.
Right.
We definitely want, but every other artist wants that too. We'll say, well, I want to connect with with a lot of people and get my music out everywhere that it can and be heard, which is also great and a great goal to have, but also something that every other artist wants.
Okay.
So let's dive in a little bit more specifically into what makes us unique. While we may not have the huge marketing budget, we may not have that record label yet, or the experience necessarily to know exactly what to do. The one thing that every one of us has is a unique story to tell. Every human being has their own very unique personality, their interests, and within that, we have things that align with other people. So there's also other people out there that think similarly to us, that have had similar experiences to us. And if we can direct the art that we create and the way that we share it around a universal human experience, I think you'll be much more likely to be able to grow a fan base and a following and have the impact that you intend for your music much quicker than if we're just generally just throwing stuff out there and hoping that it gets picked up or took interest in. So to give like an exercise to start with, put together what I call is like a passion statement around your music. So think about in terms of like going to maybe a networking event or meeting with someone, and they say, "So hey, what do you do?" And most of us would say, "Well, I'm an artist." And many people say aspiring artist, and you're already an artist if you're creating art. So get that word aspiring out of your vocabulary. You are an artist. But what is specific about that? So what type of art do you create? What are you passionate around your art? Start to ask some of those questions. And as you come up with those answers about starting to specify what's unique about you, we can come up with a specific statement that you can use as kind of an elevator pitch in a way that helps people understand who you are and what your music is about. Okay. Now, once you come up with that statement, then that can be sort of like your mission statement. Like many brands would have like a slogan or a motto, and then that can be something that goes on your website, on your social media, that is part of the conversation when you're posting and sharing content. To be able to help people understand why you're creating the music that you're making and how you hope that it will impact them. Okay. And I think if we start with that foundational story, that helps a lot. When we dive into marketing individual songs and individual content, then let's get into telling the story around the song. So as opposed to going on Instagram and posting the cover art of your new song that you released and say, "Hey, go check this out on Spotify. The link's in the bio." Maybe the image is a lyric from the song, and the caption is an explanation about what that lyric means to you and how you hope that it connects with your audience. And you start to come up with some ways to be able to think about, how can I tell the story around my song and help people really have a more intimate experience with the art that I'm creating. And if you think that as a foundational concept and try to dive deeper into it, then I think as creatives, we're already coming up with great ideas with our art. Let's get creative with how we share it with people.
So let me jump in with a question or maybe an observation. I want to get your insight on this, right? Because I agree with what you're saying, and it's a good way of thinking about it. a lot of musicians that I've seen, most times when they're telling their story as being a musician or a creator or producer or whatever, it's always, hey, I'm out here grinding. Hey, I'm in the studio again. If you're a producer, hey, I picked up a new piece of equipment, that type of thing. It seems like most people, their story is more about, yeah, my album's going to drop or my single's going to drop, in a couple of months or whatever it may be. That seems to be what everyone is saying. But give me your opinion about this. I saw this one indie artist, and she kind of made her story or her brand around the fact that her mom died of cancer. And the way she brands her music is inspirational music for people who are going through major life challenges. So the branding, in my opinion, or the story or the message seems to resonate with her audience. I look at some of her social platforms, and when she posts things, it's about overcoming massive odds. Is that in line with what you're talking about? Could that be an example of someone using their own story as an artist?
It definitely is. Yeah, that's a great example. And that type of experience is a great way to think about something that is, as I mentioned before, like a universal human experience. Mm-hmm. So many of us have experienced loss and massive challenges and trauma in our life. And if that is something that is really that is passionate to that specific artist, and her music is authentically created around those ideas and sharing it with people to give them hope and support and recovery in those types of experiences, then that's absolutely a powerful way to do it. I think that the thing to be careful about, and what many people might say when they hear that example, is that just a marketing ploy, or is that authentic? So it's really important that is something that's really that you're really passionate about. I have an artist that I worked on a project recently with, and she had a very impactful story for me about her father. Her father had some mental health issues and some addiction issues when she was younger. He disappeared when she was young, and he ended up homeless. Wow. Years later, she ended up running into him on the street. And just her telling me that story, it was very emotional to her. And through that experience, she became very passionate about advocating for getting rid of homelessness. And so she wrote a song about it, about a homeless man that she had met, and all he wanted was for someone to just like sit down and chat with him and just have a conversation. And he wasn't really like even begging for money, just like a human connection. And so she wrote a song about that called "Spare Some Time." Instead of spare some change, just spare some time with someone that just needs some connection. Wow! And then that song ended up being picked up by an organization that she had just done some work with as a volunteer in Chicago. In one of the campaigns that they do to spread awareness around homelessness is in the winter, a bunch of people get together and they sleep outside and to raise awareness around the fact that every winter there's countless people in Chicago that their home is outside in the freezing cold. Right. And so that song became the anthem theme song for this campaign that they did, and it got her a lot of really great exposure. But that didn't come from like a PR team that sat down and said, "Hey, how can we get some good press on this opportunity during the Christmas season?" It came from her personal experience, and with that, you don't run into those naysayers that are saying, "Oh, well, this is," because they're always going to be there. You're always going to have the haters, Yeah. But you take the wind out of their sails in that situation because it's 100% authentic. Now another thing that people mention when you come up with this is, well, so does everyone just have to have a really sad story in order for our art to connect? And I don't think that's the case either. If you're really passionate about, say, having incredible experiences in life, that could be an artist that writes really great, just like party songs that just uplift people and are used for that type of environment. Then that's the culture that you share around your music. That's the type of experience, and the content that you create around it is the type of incredible experiences that you enjoy. So it might be like maybe you like to travel a lot. Or maybe there's certain places that you really enjoy, hanging out. And what is that experience like? And what are the other people that would connect with that type of experience? So it doesn't necessarily have to be that really emotional or or like, culture shifting, sort of thing.
Sure.
It could be whatever it is that you're passionate about, because, there's other people that are out there. As another example, there's an artist that I'm working with right